Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Time Machine. I'm Harper, and today I'm starting a new video series called the 100 Drawing Prompts Challenge. Yes, that's right, I'm doing 100 drawing prompt videos starting with this one right here, right now. Why? Because drawing prompts are an awesome way to get pumped up and psyched up to fill your sketchbook when you have no idea what to draw. Now you can just follow along with the Time Machine drawing prompts, and before you know it, boom, your sketchbook is full and you're a drawing champion. God, I admire you. Behold, here in my hand I have the power of 100 drawing prompts. Can you feel the power? But before we get too drunk on this power, I gotta find something to put these prompts in so that I can choose one at random every time. Alright, looks like we're gonna need something special, something custom, something made with our own two damn hands. Don't worry, I've got an idea. And yes, we're gonna get to the drawing part real soon, so don't get your shit hot. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the official 100 Drawing Prompts Challenge Prompt Generator, also known in some parts of the world as the mystical Fruit Bowl of Destiny. Alright, cool. Prompt number 1 of 100 coming right up. Robot Wrangler. Let's get to it. Alright, drawing prompt number 1 of 100. Robot Wrangler. Let's start off with some thumbnails to figure out the composition. Sure, that sounds professional. Let's do that. First, I tried it with just one big robot in the foreground, getting the double rope around the neck treatment. The Wrangler is in the background, trying not to fall off of a 357-foot rock formation. Good luck, Wrangler. Good luck. This composition also had a good space to put the title, so overall, not bad. Next, I flipped the composition around to see what it would look like from the Wrangler's point of view. So now she's in the foreground, roping 3 huge robots hell-bent on destruction. I liked the idea of the robot triple threat because it feels pretty ominous, but there really wasn't enough room for the type, so I don't know if this is going to work. And last but not least, I kept the Wrangler in the foreground but moved the camera over so I could get more of a 3/4 shot from behind. That way we can see more of our hero. And then I thought maybe it would be even more interesting if there were just 3 huge floating disembodied robot heads. Can you feel the impending doom? Man, I know I can. I also wanted to add a title to the image to give it a little more clarity and fun. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you Regina Reyes, the Robot Wrangler in The Wild Heads of Navarone. And yes, that episode title was inspired by, if not completely ripped off from, that classic World War II film starring Gregory Peck and Anthony Quinn, The Guns of Navarone, directed by J. Lee Thompson. I didn't show more of the drawing process here because it's in a light blue pencil that you can't see for shit on video anyway. Why use blue pencils? Good question, champ. The reason I use blue pencils is so that I don't have to erase as much. And if you're going to scan your inks and color them in Photoshop, you don't have to erase them at all. Hello, time saver. My go-to brand for blue pencils is the Prismacolor Cull Erase. What a clever name. More specifically, it's the light blue number 20068. So the first thing I thought of when I read the prompt was a cowboy, cow person, out on the range lassoing some bulls who'd strayed too far from the herd. A classic Western movie fraught with grim desperation and danger. But, with robots. So what kind of an image would fit the prompt in an interesting way? It could be a robot in Wrangler jeans, boots and spurs, packing 2.6 guns and wearing a mean black hat with the brim pulled way low in front. Maybe even smoking one of those tough guy Clint Eastwood cigars. Or maybe it's a human Wrangler roping a robotic wild bronco at the Bar S Ranch. But then I'd have to draw a horse, so screw that idea. Okay, how about a cowgirl riding a mechanical bull in a wannabe honky-tonk bar in the city? Yeah, that's a pretty cool idea. But the image I settled on was a robot bounty hunter. She's a hired hand paid big money for capturing rogue robots who've been terrorizing travelers on the only Western trail through the Pinnacles of Death Desert. The design inspiration for the pinnacles were those classic Roadrunner cartoon backgrounds done by Maurice Noble and Philip Degard. Mine don't look very much like the formations in the cartoons because I didn't want to directly rip off their designs. Unfortunately and obviously, mine are nowhere near as cool. Anyway, she's a sun-baked, dust-caked, tough Electro roping a group of giant floating robot heads out in the wastelands of the West. For the inks on this image, I decided to go with some microline pens from the Studio Series brand. They're a little cheaper than the top brands, but the ink is waterproof and it's pretty fade resistant. And listen, I'm not a YouTube millionaire yet, so I gotta save some dough where I can. I started by inking the lettering so I could warm up and get a feel for the pens before moving on to the rest of the image. And as an aside, I gotta tell you, trying to draw or ink without turning the paper around to get the correct angle is really tough. You see how I'm constantly twisting and contorting my wrist and elbow trying to get into the right position? Seriously, I could be in a circus sideshow act. And speaking of drawing in sketchbooks, it's way harder than drawing on a loose piece of paper. The pages in the book are all spongy and your drawing hand is constantly trying to fall off the edges of the book so that you have no stability to make a clean, precise line. Yeah, it's tough, but it's my cross to bear. And this, dear viewer, I do all for you, just so that the video is less jarring to watch. Although I do think I get frustrated a couple of times in this video and turn the sketchbook around. Hey, nobody's perfect. Alright, next I moved on to the Pinnacles of Death. I was trying to make them look like craggy rock spires, but some of them look more like piles of dirt or those huge termite condominiums you see on TV shows about Africa and Australia. Next up was Regina, our courageous heroine. You can see the rope she used to climb up the death pinnacle looped around the left side. I wanted this to be an action shot of her barely hanging on to the electromagnetic lassos, about to be pulled over the edge of the cliff by the monstrous robot heads. I should have pushed it way further and really exaggerated the movement, but yeah, I got no excuse. I just should have made her pose way more dynamic. And that little piece of machinery next to her that looks like a satellite boombox is actually her portable robot tracking device. That's how she located the bots in the first place. I'm imagining her lassos have a magnetic anti-gravity system that makes them nearly weightless. That's what all the little balls and doodads on the ropes are. And the 5.3 series of lassos that Regina has also include an auto-fastening mechanism that loops around the bottom of the metal monsters via voice commands. Good thing she didn't buy the 4.8 series, because those were absolute crap. Inking head number 1, it kind of reminds me of a forgotten Autobot design. I like the idea of the transistor horns and the stripes on its face, but I'm not sure how successful it is. It's kind of predictable looking. And head number 2 looks like someone's granny who just woke up with the curlers still in her hair and no makeup. I'm not sure what I was going for on that one. And the final head looks like it could have been a throwaway design from that sweet 1979 movie, The Black Hole, directed by Gary Nelson. Maximilian is still one of my favorite robots of all time. Oh, you know what would be rad? I want to see Max fight the Terminator. The Terminator would totally kick his ass, though. I mean, all Max has is those spinny little blender blades, right? Or maybe he had laser eyes, too. Yeah, I can't remember. Isn't that a song by Hall & Oates? Laser eyes, they're watching you. Laser eye. Anyway, let's move on to the colors. I'm using a cheese ball student set from Michael's Arts and Crafts store, because really that's about where my skill level is with watercolors. Student. Like 3rd grade student. But that's cool, they're quick and you can get some cool effects with them. I'm going to start with the sky, of course. I should have just made the clouds with the paint instead of drawing them in with a pen. Oh well, remember that for next time. Next up, let's do the lettering. That's a hot red on the face of the letters with a cool red on the 3D drops. Kinda hard to see in this sweet iPhone video, but you get the idea. I added the rope around the W because that's an easy classic look for anything even remotely Western. Let's darken up the pinnacles in the foreground a little, more on that later, and then move on to the local colors for Regina. Of course, she's got a black hat because she's a total badass, and her backpack is army green for that rugged authenticity. She's a feisty redhead in blue jeans and boots. And speaking of red, I was trying for a beat-up, battle-worn primer and rust red on that first robot. Not sure if I pulled it off. And I had no idea how I was going to color this, so I'm just winging it at this point. And for those of you collecting the trading cards, this robot is called the Unicron 5000. Yes, that's right, the Unicron, not the unicorn, even though it looks like a unicorn. For the middle robot, I guess I was thinking, hey, I like bananas. I'll color this head a silly bright yellow. Then I added a green patina, the kind that would happen to untreated copper if left out in the elements. It helped, but it didn't turn out the way I thought it would. The orange hair curlers, energy coils, were a happy accident. This one is the infamous T-57 model recon robot. Yep, the very same kind used in the Time Wars of 2053. Some of you younger viewers might remember that. And then, for some awesome reason, I gave all the robots Randy the Macho Man Savage sunglasses. Welcome to the Super 80s WrestleMania Rock and Roll Show! And snap into a Slim Jim! We went for a hike today and I actually saw a dude wearing a pair of Oakley Blades sunglasses. And not in an ironic hipster way. He was probably checking himself out in the rearview mirror on the way over and thinking, oh yeah, I don't care what anyone says. These babies are still as sweet today as they were in '87. I really like to draw all the make-believe non-hard science robot parts, like the ones on the backs of these heads, but they're kind of a pain in the ass to color. Say, that reminds me, I've got another drawing prompt video on my channel that has tons of that little doodad mechanical stuff. Don't worry, I got you covered. I'll put a link to that video in the description below. The third robot is the 442B model, normally used for apple harvesting, but with a little ingenuity and know-how, they can easily be rewired for frontline interceptor duty. This one has obviously been repainted for the battlefield because, as you know, blue is not a standard factory color for one of these robots. The robot Wrangler lettering looked a little like a dead fish gathering flies, so I cranked it up to 11 with an electric yellow halo effect. Then I continued the yellow onto the clouds for a little pop. Next, I added a few highlights and shadows with colored pencils. Hey Prismacolor, call me when you're ready. I'm thinking sponsorship deal. I mean, have you seen how many subscribers I have? Yeah, let's talk soon. Now's the time to bring a few of these pinnacles closer to the foreground by darkening them up and adding some details. And of course, I had to flip my signature toothbrush flick onto the robots to give them more of a beat-up texture, and on the spires for a little atmosphere. I couldn't leave well enough alone, so naturally, I broke out the big fat fatty rough brush for more texture and shadows. I love using that brush. It's hard to control and gives you unpredictable results. Now, granted, sometimes those results are crap, but most of the time I like how it turns out. And to get a little separation between the heads and catch some highlights, we go to the Uniball Signo Broadpoint White Pen. Pro tip, buy these in boxes of at least 5 because if you use them a lot, you're going to burn through them quickly. And to finish up the drawing, I'm going to ink back over some of the lines that were washed out by the watercolors and then add some orange to the clouds for drama. There you go, prompt number 1 of 100 in the can, in the sketchbook, and in the history books. Hey, you know it would be really cool if you wanted to try this prompt and then put a link to your artwork in the comments. That way I can put it in the next drawing prompt video. And then over 130 people are going to see your work. Just imagine that. Wow. Hashtag amazing. Hashtag blessed. Hashtag fart noise. Hey, do me a favor. Can you stop saying hashtag? Thanks. Hey, thanks for watching today. I really appreciate it. And if you thought this video was pretty sweet, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to follow along with the 100 Drawing Prompts Challenge and even do some yourself, please subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe, make sure you hit that notifications bell. And that way you'll never ever miss another sketchbook video. Where? Right here on the time machine. See ya. Can you feel the power?